I was looking, this isn't going to work, is it? I had this planned out, sort of. No, I was looking at, I was looking at Marcia's poems this afternoon. And she has this line about water, and water doing what it wants. It made me think of a title of a book called Water Bears No Scars, which appears in this poem, which is the same thing. Water keeps flowing down the mountain. Prince Lightning, Prince Thunder. That shelf dedicated to the titles of your life, the work and joy of it, flashes clear. Airplanes must have seeded the clouds through the night to grow rain. I've almost slept until dawn without shame. The beautiful younger poet whose smile and lines you can't shake, not your first thought. I'm waiting for thunder. I'm waiting for lightning to see if the light passes through me, where my heart and lungs should be, or if I will blink at my hand, tossing blueberries and raspberries into a bath of oatmeal and soy milk. I fell asleep reading an obituary and weather science at the same time. Death and shifts and atmospheric pressure. That the pop icon's death was due to the hole in his heart. His death was due to an overdose. His death is unknown and unknowable, and the silver iodide, the good people from public works, fired from secret cannons to make the drought evaporate, may be saving us from dehydration, or they may be putting microscopic holes through you and me. If there's thunder, I'm going to last a little longer before I lose my cool following my son from room to make sure all the curious books of this house and all the curious things of this world don't keep him from finding his neon yellow sweatshirt among the piles of my new bachelor black boxers. I'm on the downslope of my 40s. I can hear a drug dealer I used to hang out with say, "Don't wait for thunder." I can hear my old therapist say, "Be like water. Water has no scars." What's it like to be the best guitarist in the world? A journalist asked Clapton. "I don't know," he said. "Go ask Prince." That Prince of the obituary that made my eyes go heavy last night, and that Prince whose purple rain funked up my dreams. For 15 years I partied overtime, waited for thunder, waited for the party of a century that's now 15 years past. Every day the free radicals of my youth pass from us, and the youth take up their old ideas as if they were their own and revolutionary. There are many tiny holes in my heart from all the people I am secretly in love with, which means I still want to be satisfied and never satisfied. In the next 2 minutes, a friend will text me an invite to another prince's funeral, Prince Buster, the original Prince of Madness. And my ex-wife will text to let me know she bought a Tesla and not to freak out at pickup. And my new something or other will ask if I want to get a cabin this weekend to watch clouds and read Dante in bed. If there was thunder, if there was lightning, I did not notice. I hope this isn't being recorded. Okay, Whatever you want, I text my ex back. I was fun to be married to, but I was never great at being responsible. When I fill out the tardy slip, the principal gives me a private smile. I once surfed Mavericks with Ingrid, the woman she ditched her husband for. I write the facts. We're late because the giant squid has 3 brains and its DNA is not believed to be from this world. Thank you. You guys just want to make me blush. This is a poem coming out. I just stumbled upon this online journal. I don't know how hard it is. I don't know to get into it. I've never heard of it. Then I looked at the people in it, my old professors in it from graduate school, and a bunch of amazing poems. I'm like, hell, I'm going to submit. There's a poem about the body, and the argument is with, you know what, will you watch my time? Because I have no clue. All right, so there we go. Grab some of that water. The argument is with William Matthews. Were you guys ever fans of William Matthews? Brilliant, brilliant poet. I think sadly, it was amazing when he died. Thank you. His next book was already died unexpectedly. His next book was done and came out. I think the last book was Time and Money, right? Anyway, he was famous for his, a lot, but the one-line poem, Premature Ejaculation. Do you guys ever hear that?
No.
You want to hear it?
Yes.
I'm sorry. This poem is already finished. That's God's work. That's God's work. That's what Chris said. But I was thinking more about the poem I read in college because it had pissing in the title, because I wanted to know how good poets, quote unquote, turn pissing off the back of a boat into something worth reading. And I remember being amazed by how he turned his uric acid dribble into a metaphor for a long sentence, and a treatise on how language was the one thing stolen from the gods that could keep changing and still be beautiful, no matter the century. But I was critical of the poem too, because the turning of piss into metaphor seemed like an intellectual flinch, or an apology for writing about the body at all, when it seemed to me that any moment could be made poetic on its own without dragging gods and theory into it. That's the opening. I'd finished telling Chris about Kathleen's last 24-hour shift, how she was asleep in her call room, having a working mother's anxiety dream, her daughter's voice calling to her from the pantry, from an empty pasta pot when the hospital alarm went off, and the floor nurse called to say, "Room 4's coded." And so from the world of guilty dreams to fluorescent lights and blue alarm lights reflecting on the sterile floors in the halls and stairwell, she blinked and ran, the intercom repeating code blue. 90 seconds to get into the OR and baby out of mom, to get mom's heart beating and stabilized. 1 minute and 10 seconds when the doctor and her assist ran through opposite doors, gowns and gloves and face masks ready to go. Kathleen still blinking from sleep, from thoughts of the ex she bumped into at the stoplight in his truck, his name and contractor's license. on the door in blue on her way in this morning. The last time she saw him, he hit her. And she called the cops, changed the locks, and took out a restraining order. And all that shoved somewhere deep back into the oblongata. The patient prepped her belly, her pubis shaved and splattered with betadine. Before her, almost faceless, everyone masked and almost faceless. The patient, the top half of her body curtained off, 60 seconds to go. Both doctors reaching for scalpels. After 1,000 times, anything can become old hat, and then pausing, seconds to read the patient's tattoo, stretched out from pelvis bone to pelvis bone. The letters made even more bold by the pregnancy: eat me right or get out of sight. And so eyes met, and so Kathleen asked, here or here? Moving the scalpel, questioning whether or not to split the oar with a scar or leave the unstressed syllable intact. Green lettering on honeydew skin, 45 seconds to go, but they took their time sewing her up, joking whether or not to move around a letter or two, and agreeing that what she really needed, what both doctors really needed, was to add a TR before they eat, and then debated whether or not it was a 3-beat line that should be broken after the unstressed syllable. A poet had recently visited the hospital, or a 6-beat line that should be left intact, and quietly imagine to themselves what the mother might say to her new daughter in 6 years when she begins to read. So this is weird for me because I think my glasses are doing funny things, but it seems like every time I get a new book, which is not that often, I got to get new glasses. But also that poem, I'm like, I'd edited it so much, and then I turned it in, and then they rejected my edits, and they went back to my other one because it had already been accepted. And then I went for, I think, more edits, because now this is the typeset copy, but I kept editing. And I emailed them today, I'm like, hey man, do you guys have like a final version of my typeset copy with my changes in it? No word. No comment. They charge you past a certain point, or they threaten you. They don't charge you, they threaten you. What do we got? Here, little departure. Fable. So what I was trying to say about that, that's the first, I'm like, oh, it's this version of that poem. I was, when my kids were younger, I would tell them bedtime stories. And this comes from that. It's a departure from that last poem. On this day, the elderfish told the bear and the girl about the boy who'd gone missing. She said the boy was a good boy, and the parents had been arguing about how to punish a good boy for failing to restore their affections to what they once were. Honey in their stomachs, Adonis blue butterflies in their mouths. The elderfish said the searchers searched for a week but found no footprints. No backpack, no prophetic fisherman, no parolee in the great database of deviants and survivors. And so the boy's face now yellowed on flyers on poles across the small town. The elderfish said the boy's breath sweeps across the lake in the evenings. So the girl whose mouth a stranger once duct taped and forced to the shore climbed onto the bear who once woke from a brambleberry slumber and chased away a stranger who was standing over a girl like a bear over a fish. At the mouth of the cave, the bear smelled the old smells of deer blood and wild onion, the cigarette butts and yeast perfume of broken rolling rocks and used condoms and games of dare and the months of icy dark he once hibernated in, but no fresh musk of boy. The girl rode on that bear's back past where the lodgepole pine trees stop, and past where the search and rescue dogs had stopped following the scree squeak hints of rock marmots to a high altitude tarn, where a wolf stood next to a boy's black backpack and blood congealed on the wolf's gray fur. I will devour you the way you devoured that boy, the bear and girl said to the wolf. But as they got closer, the wolf grew in size, not as all things grow in size when one gets closer, but the wolf became bigger than any girl and her bear, bigger than any reflection cast across any lake. The girl could see the blood was not a boy's blood, but a wound from something much larger than a bullet, and an animal much larger than any animal she'd ever seen in a world different from any world she'd known. The wolf's yellow eyes said they'd been shot at for years because they looked like wild. The wolf said that the boy was here, that other children were here, that they come here before their parents, their mothers, their fathers, with their coat hanger switches and hot irons ever notice them, wander off into themselves, into the scree meadow, where all those stupid, you fucked up my life sentences don't reach them. Look, the yellow eyes of the wolf said, tiger lily, falling aster. I could see why the Jungian Journal asked for that. One more? All right. What's that?
I like what you're doing papers.
The thing is, like, you read, you turn, I've been turning through this word by word again, trying to catch any things. And you forget how long it takes to read them out loud in front of people. Like, you've lived with them for years. Everything I have. So a lot of this book, this is all from the book coming out in March, called After Party. And although it's got a giant music credit to it, about that long page, a lot of it's owed to the band The National and Elvi. Just amazing lyrics. And so this title's borrowed with permission from them. Everything I have is on the table, which I think is the known thing. Everything I have is on the table. Everything I love is out to sea. Fragmentary sleep, and now fragmentary body. I'm searching the internet world for a sense of self. Here, an article on the purple orchidy flowers that bloom on pennies, and hear a video of women protesting for the right to walk bare-chested like men. My social network has new news, but it's the same as the old news. Birthday wishes, photos of mint leaves on gold puddings, a million tiny carpe diems and defeats, lines at the raw food place, too little curry in the Vindaloo, construction and a bottleneck on the California incline. Another someone wants more attention from their spouse. I'm not in this habit of spilling my guts without great care. Even when I'm alone in a room, I don't want to be the center of attention. You didn't notice me at the farmer's market because the potatoes were so fresh. And I was okay with that. The news in the food court said they caught the terrorist because so many people were taking pictures of themselves that he couldn't stay in the background for long. He said, these days, even the moon is a lens. No one can just gracefully be alone in a room. A ring of water on my desk. I hold my tea mug up in the sky. Daylight moon with a slight chance of rain. You took off early. Now our daughter cartwheels her purple leotard over a blue mat somewhere. Tryouts. The next time we're alone together and we're still lonely. Remember, I never promised to light up a room. More news on the data feed. A bear has ambled into a suburban yard. A bather flops off a turtle floaty, runs into the house. More hysterics broadcast as a type of wonder. I am doing what I can to not become the stranger in this marriage. Yesterday you were telling me why the leaves on the bird of paradise are always torn. I was listening. It dapple shades the new love seat now. Thank you for letting me lose my mind for a while. Thank you.